Good afternoon. Welcome again to all to participate this class. Participating this class today. This is the class for business environment, and the course code of this subject is MCOM-202. So today we will cover Block 3. You know, this is the third class for business environment. So today we will cover this part, Block 3, and in this block, 3 units are there: Unit 7, Unit 8, and Unit 9. Unit 7 is for critical elements, government and business. Actually, this block is for political and legal environment of business. So, in this block, Unit 8 for changing dimensions of political and legal environments in India, and Unit 9 for MRTP Act, Competition Act, FEMA, and Licensing Policy, Consumer Protection Act. So, today we'll learn about the Competition Act, FEMA, okay, these acts. So now first I would like to discuss about the legal and the political framework of the Indian business environment. Okay, so the today's class examine the structural evolution of India's economic regulations from the protectionist 1969 MRTP Act or era to the competitive liberalized 2024 landscape, and the key themes of this session or this topics: the political environment, the 1991 paradigm shift, competition jurisprudence, CCI or FEMA operations, and modern consumer rights. So to synthesize the interaction between legislative changes and macroeconomic stability in the Indian context, the political environment of business encompasses the various conditions, factors, and forces that significantly influence commercial activities. These factors include competing political ideologies, the electoral majority of the ruling party, and the strength of parliamentary opposition. Ideologically, leanings at both the federal and state level often serve as the foundation for government policies impacting trade and industry. And furthermore, political instability arising from law and order failures or widespread violence constitute a significant business risk. So, this the blueprint for navigating the Competition Act 2002, the strategic guide to India's antitrust laws, market balance, and corporate complex. So, here this is the table paradigm shift from controlling monopolies to protecting markets. there is core philosophy, Seistiger, combination, and enforcement in the row. And so in column, there is historical MRTP Act 1969 and Modern Competition Act 2002. There is some difference. Core philosophy of MRTP Act 1969 is reformatory, control monopolies, and the core philosophy of Modern Competition Act 2002 is punitive, promote competition. The Seistiger MRTP Act dominance per SC is bad based on farm size, and Competition Act dominance is allowed, abuse of dominance is prohibited based on market structure. A combination, no specific regulation in Modern Competition Act 2002, strict thresholds and regulations. And enforcements and penalties, no specific penalties in MRTP Act, but in Modern Competition Act 2002, heavy financial penalties and extra territorial jurisdiction. Okay, so the objective is no longer to prevent wealth concentration, but to protect the freedom of trade and the ultimate consumer. Okay, so now we would like to say the critical elements of political environments. Critical elements of political environments in India includes the political system, political processes, and the stability of the structure, the nature of the state, its underlying political ideology, and the continuity of policies are fundamentals to shaping business decisions. Bureaucratic quality and the administrative capacity play a vital role in determining the efficacy of public policy implementation. Additionally, the federal structure and the dynamics of center-state relations are essential considerations for inter-regional business operation. So, this is the critical elements of political environment. Okay, three pillars of fair play. There are a free and fair market for, okay, this is the anti-competitive agreements, abuse of dominant position, and combination of sections 5, 6, section 4, section 3. The watchdogs, CCI and DG, enforcement order, and this is the master plan, master print, the blueprint. Okay, so now in 1991, when the new industrial policy was established or paradigm shift, the new industrial policy of 1991 was announced to correct industrial distortion and weakness developed over 4 decades. This policy aimed to elevate industrial efficiency to international standards and accelerate overall economic growth. So, defining the board of play, who and where the law applies, the actor is enterprise, the target is consumer. So, any personal government department engaged in production, distribution, or control of goods and services, then the target is anyone who buys goods or hires services for consideration. So, here, sovereign functions exempt atomic energy, currency, defense, space is the sovereign functions. And crucial note, unlike the Consumer Protection Act, commercial purchases are considered consumers under competition law. So there are the arena, relevant market, relevant product market, and the relevant geographic market. They are related in the defined zone of competition. So, okay, now in the 1991 New Industrial Policy, the fundamental objectives included providing facilities to market forces and increasing the competitiveness of domestic industries. Measures involved allowing domestic firms to import better technology and increasing the foreign direct investment ceiling in specific sectors. Okay, so triggers for economic reforms in 1991 was India was compelled to balance of payments, BOP, occurred as foreign payments significantly exceeded foreign receipts. So the 1990 to 1991 Gulf crisis led to a dramatic increase in global petrol prices, further severely impacting the BOP. Foreign exchange reserves dropped to a level only sufficient to cover their 3 weeks worth of import, forcing the government to mortgage gold reserves. Okay, so now the section 3 here in this slide, the danger of the handshake, horizontal agreements and vertical agreements are there. In horizontal agreements, competitors 1, 2, and 3, and vertical agreement, manufacturer, distributors, and retailer. So, in horizontal agreement, competitors includes cartels and bid rigging occurs at the same stages of production, but in vertical agreement includes tie-ins, exclusive supply, resale, price maintenance occurs at different stages of productions. In the rule in horizontal agreement is pursued to cause AAEC. The burden of proof is heavily on the defending company to prove innocence. In vertical agreement, the rule must be proved. Prosecutors must actively prove the agreement causes an AAEC. So IPR exemption, companies may legally impose reasonable restrictions to protect intellectual property like copyrights, patents, trademarks, or fulfill purely export-driven contracts. Okay, so now I would like to discuss the evolution of competition law from MRTP to Competition Act. So you know the monopolies and restrictive trade practices, MRTP Act of 1969 was originally enacted to prevent the concentration of economic power. However, as India shifted toward a free market economy in 1991, the MRTP Act was deemed inadequate for fostering healthy competition. The Raghavan Committee was established to recommend a suitable legislative framework in light of international development. Based on this recommendation, the new Competition Act 2002 was introduced to shift the focus from curbing monopolies to promoting rivalry. Okay. And the fundamental framework of the Competition Act 2002 was the serves as a robust legal framework intended to foster and sustain competition in India's market economy. The prohibits anti-competitive agreements which are classified into horizontal and vertical categories. Horizontal agreement such as cartels or price fixing between competitions are presumed to have an appreciable and adverse effect on competition. The Act also introduces the rule of reason test to determine if vertical agreements between different production stages are illegal. The Competition Commission of India is a statutory body operating under the Ministry of Corporation Affairs. So, Competition Commission of India is a regulatory role. The CCI is tasked with preventing anti-competitive practices, regulating mergers, and ensuring free trade. They consist of a chairperson and 6 members who must possess at least 15 years of professional experience in relevant field. The Commission has the power to conduct inquiries, impose significant penalties, and initiate suo motu investigation. Okay. So there is contemporary challenge for competition regulation. The primary challenges for CCI is managing digital marketing, market complexities, where data access and network effects create new forms of dominance. Persistent adjudication delays have sometimes eroded public trust in the Commission's regulatory efficacy. There are also hurdles in enforcement, as companies often exploit the lack of mandatory pre-deposit requirements for appeal, leadership vacancies, and the absence of the comprehensive national competition policy have further constrained its operational capacity. The Foreign Exchange Management Act, FEMA 1999 overview. The Foreign Exchange Management Act came into force on June 1, 2000, replacing the earlier regulation-focused regime. FEMA aims to consolidate and amend the law of facilitate external trade and payments while promoting an orderly forex market. The Act applies to the whole of India and extends to all branches outside India owned or controlled by Indian residents. Under FEMA, foreign exchange is considered a common resource that must be realized and repatriated to India through authorized persons. Here's some anatomy of a cartel and elusive bidding. The cartel node diagrams competitors A, B, and C, and identical bidding, cover bids, bid rotation, and market allocation. The articles is chalking the supply chain, tie-in arrangement, exclusive supply. The tie-in agreement forcing a buyer to purchase an unwanted secondary product to get the primary one. This is the tie-in arrangement. Exclusive supply, forcing a dealer to sell only your product and strictly dropping all competitors' lines. And exclusive distribution is restricting a distributor to a hyper specific locked down geographic territory. And resale price maintenance RPM is dictating a non-negotiable floor price to retailers, preventing them from offering consumer discounts. So these are the articles is chalking the supply chain. So now diagnosis market dominance, the dominance diagnosis model, market share enterprises, size and resources, countervailing buying power. This chart is showing you all these entry barriers, dependence of consumers. So core definition is dominance is a position of strength that enables an enterprise to operate independently of competitive forces or to affect its competitors, consumers, or the market in its favor. Bigness alone in perfectly legal, recognizing it is not. So here the market dominance. So now I have already said about the FEMA 1999 and the FEMA operation, mainly current and account transaction. Current account transactions are defined negatively as those that are not capital account transactions. This typically include payments for foreign trade, interest on loans, and living expenses for relatives residing abroad. And while these transactions are generally free, the central government can impose reasonable restrictions in consultation with the RBI. Schedule 1 of the rule list prohibited transactions such as remittance from lottery, winning, or racing income. So there is a one when strength becomes abuse, legal market power and growth and abuse practices here mentioned. The imposing unfair conditions on discriminatory prices, predatory pricing, limiting production, denying market access to new entrants, using dominance in market A to illegally protect or enter market B. These are the strength becomes abuse. So now the march of acquisition thresholds, the combination thresholds, the individual enterprise and coordinate. Okay. Now the patterns, clearance timelines. So actually FEMA operations are, there are so many operations, current account transactions. Now the current account, capital account transactions are those that after alter assets or liabilities, including contingent liabilities outside or inside India. Actually, everything cannot be showed on slides. So some things out of these slides I am discussing or saying you. So you can read your all you will find in the SLM. So read thoroughly all the SLMs and prepare yourself from the SLM. So okay. So now I am introducing the several things which are all are not in slide showing. Okay, so capital account transactions are those the altered assets to liabilities, including contingent liabilities outside or inside India. These transactions remain regulated because the Indian rupees is not yet fully convertible. Permissible transactions for residents include investments in foreign securities and the transactions of immovable property of the non-residents are prohibited from making investment in specific sectors such as cheat funds or nidhi companies. Okay, trigger investigation all are already discussed there. Okay, so now financial impact, false statement, non-compliance statement. So determination of residential status under FEMA. The residential status under FEMA is determined by residing in India for more than 182 days during the preceding financial year. However, if a person leaves India for employment or business, they cease to be a resident from the date of departure. Conversely, a person coming to India for purposes other than employment remains a non-resident even if their stay exceeds 182 days. Students studying abroad are generally considered non-residents as they often work to over their studies and stay. To modernizing consumer protection, the 2019 Act, the Consumer Protection Act 2019 replaced the 1986 legislation to address modern technology-dependent consumer challenges. The consumers is also defined to explicitly include those engaged in online transactions through electronic means or teleshopping. The Act seeks to provide better protection by establishing consumer protections councils to settle disputes. That promotes consumer education to ensure individuals are aware of their rights and available grievance and redressal mechanism. So product liability and digital jurisprudence in CPA 2019, a significant introduction in the 2019 Act in the concept of product liability, holding manufacturers and sellers. Okay. accountable for harm. The Act also, CP Act, also established the Central Consumer Protection Authority (CCPA) to regulate violations of consumer rights. Consumers can now file complaints online via the Dakhil portal, facilitating a speedy and inexpensive redressal process. The pecuniary jurisdiction has been revised, allowing district commissions to entertain complaints up to 50 lakh rupees. The multi-dimensional role of governments in private businesses, government's role in businesses in multi-dimensional, encompassing regulatory, promotional, entrepreneurial, and planning functions. Regulatory role involves defining the limits of private enterprise through direct and indirect measures. As a promoter, the government initiates infrastructure development and provides assistance for the development of backward areas. The entrepreneurial role involves direct participations in economic activities through the management of public sector undertakings. So now, shifting socio-economic dimensions in India, the Indian business climate is in a constant state of dynamic change influenced by economic, social, and technological factors. A greater middle class has emerged due to rising disposable incomes, with wants expanding beyond basic necessities. This demographic is rapidly acclimating to Western culture, creating a sizable market for a wide range of consumer products. Consequently, there has been a surge in sales of consumer durables, creating new urban management and tariff challenges. Business today operate within a complex framework where decisions are influenced by political, legal, and environmental dimensions. With a strategic integration and future outlook, continuous evolution and adjustment to these evolving aspects are essential for long-term corporate competitiveness. The shift towards liberalization and globalization since 1991 has integrated the Indian economy with global supply chains. Ultimately, understanding the synergy between government policy and market forces is the cornerstone of post-Brexit business strategy. So, এটা ছিল আজকের বিজনেস এনভায়রনমেন্ট, অর্থাৎ ব্যবসায়িক পরিবেশের, এবং বর্তমান যে ব্যবসায়িক পরিবেশ কোনো স্থির বিষয় নেই। এটি অর্থনৈতিক, সামাজিক, রাজনৈতিক এবং আইনি পরিবর্তনের সাথে প্রতিনিয়ত পরিবর্তিত হচ্ছে। এবং 1991 সালের পর থেকে ভারত একটি নিয়ন্ত্রিত অর্থনীতি থেকে মুক্ত বাজার অর্থনীতিতে অগ্রসর হয়েছে। সুতরাং সামাজিক পরিবর্তন, রাজনৈতিক পরিবেশ পরিবর্তন এগুলো একটা প্রভাব ফেলেছে। ভারতের মধ্যবিত্ত শ্রেণী দ্রুত পশ্চিমা সংস্কৃতির সাথে মানিয়ে নিচ্ছে এবং ক্রমবর্ধমান আয়ের ফলে তাদের চাহিদা, মৌলিক প্রয়োজনীয়তা বাইরে বিস্তৃত হচ্ছে। ঠিক আছে, এবং রাজনৈতিক স্থিতিশীলতা এবং সরকারি নীতি এই ব্যবসার সাফল্যের জন্য অপরিহার্য। আইটি কোম্পানিগুলো হায়দ্রাবাদ থেকে বেঙ্গালুরুর মতো শহরগুলিতে বেছে নিয়েছে তাদের অনুকূল রাজনৈতিক পরিবেশের কারণ। ঠিক আছে, তাহলে এবং 1991 সালে এক চরম অর্থনৈতিক সংকটের মুখে পড়েছিল দেশ ভারত। সেই কারণ কি ছিল? যে 1981 সালে রাজকোষ ঘাটতি, 1991 সালে পারস্য প্রসারিত সংকটের কারণে তেলের দাম বৃদ্ধি, ভারতের বৈদেশিক মুদ্রা রিজার্ভ 3 সপ্তাহের আমদানির সমান হয়ে যায়, এলপিজির পরিস্থিতি মোকাবিলার সরকার উদারীকরণ অর্থাৎ বেসরকারীকরণ এবং বিশ্বায়ন এলপিজি মডেল গ্রহণ করে। এর মাধ্যমে শিল্প লাইসেন্সিং ব্যবস্থা বাতিল করা হয় এবং অনেক ক্ষেত্রে বিদেশি সরাসরি বিনিয়োগের সীমা 51% পর্যন্ত বাড়ানো হয়। বৈদেশিক বাণিজ্যের সস্তর করতে ফরেক্স বাজার সুশৃঙ্খল করতে 2000 সালের জুন ফেমাস কার্যকর করা হয়। এরকম অনেকগুলো দেওয়া আছে যা এতক্ষণ পর্যন্ত ডিসকাস হলো। আজকের এই ক্লাস এখানে পর্যন্তই। এই যে বিষয়গুলো দেখানো হয়েছে সেগুলো পড়বেন আপনারা আপনাদের এসএলএম থেকে। যে বিষয়গুলো আলোচনা হয়েছে এবং যে যতটুকু আমি আমার স্লাইড গুলোতে দেখিয়েছি এই বিষয়গুলো এসএলএম এ রয়েছে, এগুলো পড়ে নেবেন। থ্যাংক ইউ অল।